Hey guys, it's PJ coming to you for the Inverted Podcast, episode number 16. The title, Saying Yes in the Unknown, and my guest today is Taylor. So, hey, Taylor.
Hey.
Can you tell us a little bit about who are you? Who are you?
So I'm Taylor Cleland. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I work here at the church. I'm the director of TROC, so our college ministry here. That stands for Timberridge on campus or off campus, whatever you decide to, put in there. But yeah,
So where are you from?
I'm from Fort Worth originally.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
And you have some athletic ability past experiences in volleyball?
Yes. I played volleyball in college for all 4 years, pretty much grew up playing volleyball. Right. And then I'd say now I'm probably not as athletic, but I still got some athletic ability.
Yeah. According to, I've heard a rumor that you're pretty good on the Wii.
Yeah. The Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah. The Switch.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
It's a new thing now. Yeah.
It's the Wii pretty much.
It's the Wii. Okay. So you can still dominate.
Yes.
On video games.
Yeah.
With
I kick all the college kids' butts in Wii volleyball.
So again, what do you do here at TRC?
So I'm the director of TROC, so Timberridge on campus. It's our college ministry. And so I have the pleasure of really creating a team of college leaders who then go, and we are a college ministry for college students, led by college students. And so I have the opportunity to pour into that lead team that then pours out into our congregation. So
when you were going to college and, coming into who you are now, there was just like, I'm going to apply for this TROC position and I have an interview process and go through it. And they chose me out of all these folks. And here I am today. Is that how it all happened?
Absolutely. No, not at all.
So how did this come about? How from where you were to where you are now? How did it happen?
Well, I started off as a teacher, went to college to be a teacher, and I taught for 5 years, and really kind of 2 years in knew like, okay, I like aspects of teaching, but I don't like the way in which I have to teach and the logistics and the politics and all of the things that a teacher has to deal with and go through. And so the things that I loved about teaching was building relationships with students. And I didn't really care for any subject that I ever taught. Like I just did it because that's what I had to do, but it was always building relationships with students. And so, that's what I was doing. And then I kind of felt God calling me out of that for a little bit, but it was comfortable. It was a constant steady paycheck. I got my summers off. I thought it was great. Like all of the benefits of teaching without the passion and the care for what I was actually doing. So God called me out of that. And I finally was like, all right, God, I'm going to listen. I'll step out of it. And so I kind of sat in limbo for like 6 months.
Not just limbo. What did you do?
I ran a bakery, like my own bakery. And so, it was kind of wild. Like I don't know, like God during COVID had, we're all sitting at home doing a whole lot of nothing. And he was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to bake pretty much. And so I watched a whole lot of YouTube and, Instagram reels and all of that. And I taught myself how to bake and decorate cakes and decorate cookies. And that became like my sole source of income, for 6 months. And like God really flourished in that too. And I really thought that that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life, was bake cookies and, be Susie Homemaker, I guess. And, that was not the case. That was not the case at all.
Well, and the whole purpose of this podcast is saying yes in the unknown. Doesn't necessarily have to be a call to ministry, but those moments that things occur or pop up in your life that you weren't expecting. And it puts you in a place that there's a response required. Yeah. And you guys were kind of blindsided with
this.
Very. There was transitioning happening here at TRC and of course with TROC as well. Cody was married, moved out, with Heather, and they're happily ever after now. But the whole idea of like, okay, who is going to be next? And I remember having a conversation with Cody, and you were on my heart because I saw the type of leadership you had amongst us back then. But you had no idea we were having this conversation.
None.
And until the one day I called Chase in and you both, and Chase does youth ministry here and coaches, softball coach, varsity head coach.
That's part of me too. I'm a head coach's wife now. You can add that to my resume.
It's true, that bakes cookies. So that's it. That's the only reason he married you, I guess. Yep. But coming back to it, called you in, set you down, and said, "Hey, y'all were kind of nervous about that meeting."
I thought we were like gonna get fired. Like Chase, we're gonna go a different direction for youth. Like, you're not able to be here, so like we're done. That's really what I thought it was gonna be. I thought we were getting fired.
Which kind of, I'm glad I was living in the world of bubbles, and just not even thinking about the potential, what people were thinking about every time we had a meeting. But so it wasn't that. What was placed before you? What was put on the table that day?
TROC. All of it. All of it. All of it, and all of its grandness. That's not even a word, but just the opportunity to be the director of TROC. And I honestly don't even know what you said to me. I don't know what I said back to you. I think as soon as you said it, I like blacked out for a second. So you might have to refresh me on what I actually said or what happened in that room.
I don't remember either.
It seems like years ago though, but that was like a year.
Well, ministry years are, it happens like that.
Yeah, it's like dog years, right?
Yes, it's like, man. Anyway, you were there, and then you and Chase left, and what did y'all talk about? What was your initial feeling once you came back to
Earth?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you when we got back in the car, we literally closed the door and we just stopped and looked at each other like,
right,
what in the world just happened?
Yeah.
And Chase just asked me straight up, "Do you want to do it?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I think so."
Was that you just being thankful that Chase wasn't fired? You were just
I don't know. It could have been. It could have been that. I don't know. It was like that. Like there was like a pull on one side that was like, yes, you need to do it. But then there was like the fleshly fear on the other side that was like, oh crap, like this is a big deal. Like this is a huge ministry and has the capability and is impacting so many lives.
Yes.
And am I even worthy to be a part of that? Am I capable of doing that? And so it was definitely like a mental battle of like, I know that I need to do this,
yes,
and this is God calling me to do this, but also on the other side of it of, like all of my past and everything that I've been through, just pulling back and saying, oh, but
yes,
I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if this is for you. And so,
and God, do you remember who I was, or, are you sure you want me to do this?
Yeah.
And as well, we're in the middle of transition, moving from TRC of yesterday to TRC today. And the way that there's more of a focus, just out of the passion of who we are, of meeting one person at a time. And so I was new to you guys. The kind of what we were doing at TRC was new. Transitioning was happening. You were thrust into that. When you said yes and you took that first step into it, what were all the feelings from the best to the worst in the middle of this unknown that you were called to?
The best feeling was probably, wow, I get like, and this sounds so, I don't know, weird, but I had been praying for 6 months that like God would give me this opportunity to do something where I could spend time with my family.
Right.
I can do something that like genuinely matters for the kingdom, not just for
cookies
tomorrow. And yes, cookies, like that was great. I love that. I believe that God blessed people through my baking, but I wanted something
cookies,
else.
I'm sorry, I have this ADHD moment. Because you make those cookies that like, okay, these cannot look good and taste good.
Yeah.
So you question whether you should even eat them, but they do. But anyway, I don't know where we were. Oh, the feeling. Okay.
Yeah. but I had been, asking God for that. And just like, I wanted to still have summers off because Chase was still teaching. And so, I wanted to be able to do the things with my family that I had been able to do while teaching, but do it with, the passion that I wanted to do it at, and with things that actually mattered. Yes. And that's not to say that teachers aren't doing things that matter.
No,
I totally believe teachers are doing things that matter.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to be able to talk about my faith. And that was always something that I felt so handicapped in teaching was if you talk about your faith, and it's a little bit different here in Stephenville, but definitely in the Metroplex, whenever I was teaching there, if you talk about your faith, there's a great chance that you could be fired.
Right.
Like you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about your faith, and you don't talk about your personal life. And that's that. And that was like, well, if my entire being is God, how am I supposed to do this job without putting him into that?
That's right.
And so it was really hard. Like that exact feeling whenever you called me into your office was how I always felt like going anywhere in the school of like, oh my gosh, am I going to be fired because I'm talking about my faith, whether I'm not at all pushing my views onto anybody else or any of my students, but like, it was always that fear of a parent's going to message you and say, don't talk to my kid about God or anything like that. And so, I had just been asking him for something like that. And then this comes up and I'm like, okay, well, this checks all of my theoretical boxes that I have of a job that I want, but like, okay. And so it was crazy. But then there was also, again, that like fear of what if I screw it up?
One of the ways, and that's a great way to put it, screwed up. One of the ways God, way I've seen God use ministry in my life in helping remind me that he's the one leading it, is he heightens my insecurities. Jumping into the role, how has it heightened your insecurities? When it's like, okay, here it is, all it is, everything that I'm running from, and I can hide behind Baker Taylor's person. Now it's just out in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
So what were some of those insecurities that you had to, and I know that wasn't a question on here, I'm sorry. That happens a lot in this room, right?
I definitely feel like in that moment, it was almost like it was like wallpaper that I had put up over myself that was like ripped down, and every like ugly paint color, every writing on the wall, everything was exposed in that moment, and maybe not exposed to everybody, but definitely like brought to the surface of like, hey, Taylor, these are things that you have shoved down so hard and you have never dealt with. And now it's time to deal with those. And it was kind of scary for sure. Like I didn't know if I was about it. I was like, come on now. I'm in this moment where I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to be showing that like I can do this job. I can be the director of TROC and do it well. All of these insecurities were coming up, and then showing to literally my boss and
no, I'm joking.
my boss and my boss, he already knew, but like exposing all of those insecurities to someone who is looking to me as someone who can lead out well. And so that was hard to, you want to put forth like the best picture of yourself, especially in any like corporate job or anything like that in the world. And so in this job, it was totally different. Like everything was exposed, and that was, I don't even know what the word is for that, but it was better than me hiding all of it. And so,
can I bring up the A word?
I don't know what the A word is. Go ahead.
Can bring it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Was abandonment something that has been placed on the table before because of the yesterday, and we all have our A words, right? Was that one when you had to deal with? How did you deal with it? How did you face it? And any of this can be edited that you don't want. I mean, we don't
whatever. They're going to hear it eventually, right. But, how did I handle it? Is that what
how did it show up? How did you respond to it?
It definitely showed up in the transition period between Cody and I.
Right.
He, in his leadership role, he was to form this lead team, and he had people that, God had put on his heart to be in that position that meshed with him as a person and a leader.
Right.
And for me, during that transition, I was kind of handed over these people that I had no connection with, and I didn't know and weren't I wouldn't say people that I wouldn't have chosen. That's not by any means the case, but you know, like you're handed this team of people that's like, here, now go run a ministry. And you're like, but I know nothing about these people. And so it was almost like I was running like backwards almost with like my hands tied behind my back of like, I'm trying to run forward, but I can't because I don't know these people. And how am I supposed to like run this ministry and then like have full belief in me as a leader to do this and do this well, but like they don't know me, I don't know them. And like there was no, I can't say that there wasn't any buy-in, but that was what I was scared of, was there was going to be no buy-in and that they were just going to leave. And then I was here by myself trying to run this ministry for college students, led by college students, being almost a 30-year-old running a college ministry. Old. I'm so old, man. In that room I am. This girl last night said that she was old and she was 21. It was like, okay.
Emma's pointing to herself right now. Yes. And God doesn't reveal our insecurities without bringing healing. You see that with, I think, Peter, when Peter says, you know, when he says, no, Jesus, you're not going to do this cross thing. And he says, hey, Peter, you don't have the things of God in your mind. You have the things of man. And then he comes back and he reinstates Peter and says, hey, you're still going to do these things, right? So how have you tangibly seen abandonment become something that's not such an issue? Yeah.
And I like that you said not such an issue, because there are definitely there are days.
Me too.
There are days
Mama
when
said there would be days like this, right?
like there are days when I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's just gonna leave. And I've seen just the difference that and abandonment isn't always a bad thing. Like the word abandonment sounds so bad, but when abandonment, or when, you know, like it's a toxic situation, abandonment can be good.
You're right. It's good.
And so I've had to learn that, like in that situation, that like we'll just go ahead and put it out there. Like my dad left multiple times. Like he'd come back and leave. Like he was like a roller coaster. You just never knew. Like he was here and there all the time. And so that was where a lot of that abandonment had kind of stemmed from. And so now I'm from a place of healing, speaking from a healed person. Asked me a year ago, was not here at all.
You're on a journey.
But it was a good thing. It was a good thing that he left. I don't think that, do I still have love for him in my heart? Absolutely. But for the sake of my family and my future, it was best for this roller coaster, like can't ever decide what they actually want person to just kind of step away. And it took me off of like that whiplash feeling of always like looking over my shoulder of like, okay, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? And so how have I tangibly seen abandonment? What?
I'm healing, or, you know, when it was placed on the table, it was revealed. God is like, hey, but I'm going to show you some healing. How have you seen healing while answering the call here at TRC? How has that insecurity been something that you are healing from?
That's a hard question, but really this team that we have is really great. I think that they are in this position, not because of me as a person and not because of me as their leader, but literally because of God and his call on their life. And so it doesn't matter how, I mean, like I would never want to be a bad leader, but like, it doesn't matter my shortcomings or my mistakes as a leader, like they're still here for his kingdom and not for me and my kingdom.
So not performance based.
No,
you're not, okay, I've got to keep it up where people will stay around.
And I think with this team too, it's really refreshing because there's moments now, I would say last semester, halfway through the semester, I was like, okay, if I show any like ounce of not knowing what's going on, like that's a problem and they're going to leave. And that's where that like fear of abandonment would like rear its ugly head of like, oh my gosh, if you don't have it all together and you know everything and you're perfect, like they're going to leave. But like now I'm so much more comfortable walking into a meeting and be like, dude, I have no clue what to do. We have this banquet coming up. I have no clue what I'm doing, but it also allows for other people's abilities that like God literally gave them to shine in these moments, because it's not all on my shoulders. We are a team. We work together, and other people have abilities and gifts that God's given them that they can use to glorify God on this team and in this ministry.
Right. And so saying yes to the unknown, saying yes to this that you didn't have any clue of what it looked like, how has it benefited your family?
That's what I was going to say was my like tangible was like my family, because yes, every part of me as a leader and a person of God has changed, but my family has seen the most benefit in the last year out of this position that I'm in. And that sounds like it can seem kind of selfish, but it's also when things at home are good, like everywhere else flows behind that, because that is my number one ministry is my family. And so any other ministry aspects or whatever is going to flow from that.
Right.
And when that's good and that's in a healthy spot, everything else behind it can just follow behind,
Yes. So how about this question? Saying yes to the unknown, is this call that you said yes to, is it more about you than everyone that shows up on a Wednesday night?
Yeah. I think God for sure put me in this position, not just so I can impact other people or I don't even know, get on stage once a month and speak, but so that my life can be changed through him and seeing what he can do with my life and my family and truly trusting him in that, not just, not feeling like I don't deserve it. And
and going back to that day that you passed out in the office, that everything was placed before you, man, would you think you would ever have been to a place where like, oh, okay, God, this is what you're going to do in my life? Isn't it crazy that we always think, okay, this is what we need to do in the ministry. This is what, so when someone's answering that call to an unknown, maybe one of the first things they need to say is like, okay, God, what do you want to do in my life in this? Because it does sound selfish, but when you find out who you are, not in people leaving or staying, but you live out who you are in knowing that Jesus is going to be there for you, no matter what, you're a better leader. Yeah. Because it's not based upon what others are thinking of you in the room. It's what he's already confirmed and affirmed of who you are. Yeah. And not that you're still in this healing for being abandoned, and God is working behind the scenes on that. But that creates a different attitude as a wife, as a mother. Yeah, absolutely. As a parent, Yeah. And what's cool for me is to be able to sit here and watch you guys, all of you, grow in your relationship with Jesus. Because ultimately, 20 years down the road, it's not going to be how many people showed up on a Sunday. Exactly. It's going to be how I grew and it infected and impacted people one at a time. And I'm seeing that. Yeah. Going back, what do you wish, would you change anything?
I mean, I think there's always things that I feel like I would want to change, but in the midst of it, I do see, okay, well, these are the things that happened, but they've also shaped me into this person for a reason. And so of course there's always going to be things that I want to change, and it doesn't mean that I can't change them. I can totally change them tomorrow if I wanted to, but no, right now I think things are good. I'm leading from a healthy place that doesn't feel like I have to have it all together, because God's got it, and there's no way that I can screw up what he has planned for this place.
That's really good, because that's going to have you respond to situations differently, especially if your identity is not found in the performance or what occurs. We want it to be the best we can make it to show Jesus and truly who he is, but it's not based upon all those things
Yeah.
that maybe
It's not based upon me gaining glory from any of it. If
No.
I was doing it for my glory or for the glory of the person sitting next to me, then it's not going to be up to the standard of what we would do if we were glorifying God. So
No. You're sitting in a room today. Let's say the future next call, and someone hits you with or blindsides you with like, "Hey, you want to be an astronaut for Jesus?" I don't know.
I don't know about that.
How do you
How do you
respond? How do you respond? How has the Taylor in who Jesus says you are? How do you leave the room now versus that day to the present day?
I know that I'm leaving the room different. I don't even want to talk about leaving the room. That's kind of scary, but let's not even put that in God's mind.
No,
okay?
no.
Like I know that He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have these.
And I don't want to be an astronaut. So
okay, that's good.
Give me something else, like a baker for. No. I've already done that.
Yeah, you've already done that. I'm sorry. That's the only thing that came up. I don't know why astronaut came up. A
like
cowgirl.
That's literally the last thing.
A bull rider. I don't know.
A bull rider. No, I can't put on paper the number of lives that have been impacted through me.
Mm-hmm.
And I may not know that until we get to heaven one day,
Right.
but I know that the impact that this place had on me. And so, and my family in that. And so that's something that I could tangibly take from this place and say, I know that I'm leaving better than I came in.
Yes. So coming back to saying yes in the unknown, we have, of course, Emma's with us, and you're moving into the tomorrows of your life, and you work in the amidst college students where they're trying to determine what's next. Would you agree, or could you agree that maybe the question we're asking is maybe not the best question at first? Instead of saying, okay, God, what do you want me to do in the next phase? Maybe, God, what do you want to do in me?
Yeah.
And how can my decision or my yes or no in the unknown call, whether that's ministry or whatever, how will this move create a better reflection of who you are?
Yeah. I definitely think, I think we move into, sometimes I think we can mishear what God wants us to do. Like, I do think that I was called to be a teacher at that point in my life.
Me too.
And God used baking to literally provide for my family in a time where Chase was a GA at Tarleton and I wasn't working. And so God worked in every single one of those aspects. And I've taken something from every single one of those positions or jobs or whatever the space that I was in at that time. But I do believe that God uses every single one of those steps. And so whether you go into a really, really, really crappy job, I quit a job halfway through whenever I was teaching in the Metroplex. And that was the first time that I had ever had an anxiety attack. And it I was driving from Stephenville to Fort Worth every single morning and after school every single day. And I was having constant anxiety attacks. And I was like, God, there's no way this is for me. And so my mom now does not tell me what to do, that I can't do something because I will literally do it the next day. She's like, Taylor, you can't quit your job. How are you going to pay your bills? And I was like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And I quit the next day. And I did. And God provided by baking. But I think we get so caught up on the call of what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? But not accepting where we're at and in the space that we're in, and then what we can gain from that and what God's trying to teach us in that moment. And so every single moment that we step through, every step that we take in a day, there's a lesson from it, or there's something that God's trying to show us through that. And so if we take our eyes so much on what the end of the road looks like and just look at our next step, it might be a little different, and our conversations might be a little different of oh my gosh, what am I going to do with my life? That's what I always hear with college students. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I've been here for 8 years and I have no clue what I'm doing next. And, but what is he doing now? Oh,
that's good.
Thanks.
That is good. Not what is he doing, what did you say, next, but what he's doing
now.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's what I said. I don't know. We'll have to rewind
it. Because yes. Because if we're constantly living in the next, in what we're going to plan, what we're going to do, what we're missing the now. But God has a way of showing up or showing us up in the now by, I think, coming back through those insecurities. Holy moly. My walk in the pasture last night now was all, it made sense because it's not what's in the next, it's what's in the now. But we want to push the next off or the now off because it's not fun to live in sometimes. Okay, let's wrap this up because we're going to talk forever. What would you tell the college student, the mom, the dad, the pastor, whoever's listening to this, when you're faced with an unknown, which we all are faced with, responding to it, how would you encourage them based upon your journey? And I expect something even more
don't do that. You're gonna make me nervous.
Come on, Gandhi.
No, I definitely think step into it with faith. Like, it's one step at a time. It's not, even stepping into a brand new job, you're stepping into a job as the newbie in the workspace. And so not so much thinking about what the end goal is of this entire whatever scenario or job or whatever, but taking it one step at a time and following God's lead in that. And that sounds so much like such a cliche and easier said than done. Right. But, I don't know. This was one of the best yeses that I've ever said. I mean, like after Chase. Yeah. After my husband, after Chase, definitely one of the best yeses because it's changed me as a person. And so sometimes saying yes doesn't always have the biggest impact on everybody else around you, but has a bigger impact on you as a person. And then that leads to your number one ministry of your family. So
very good. Closing. If the Taylor today could go back a year ago and that person that was sitting in that room and you're walking out, what would you, when y'all passed one another in the hall, today Taylor versus yesterday Taylor, what would you tell her?
Buckle up.
Not like some
not amazing, some yeah not no like, no I'd say buckle up. It's a good ride. It's been a great ride, and yes, there's been bumps along the way and there's been hardships, but John had us do this exercise the other day during staff meeting that was walk around this building as if it's your last day. And what are 3 things you see, feel, and smell, right? Nope. Hear. Yeah, not smell. That'd be smell. So
Thought about
weird.
It, but that's weird. Yeah.
And it honestly just brought up so many emotions of yes, like in any job, in any ministry, in any relationship, because we are human, there are going to be hard times and arguments and disagreements and all of that. But at the end of the day, if you are looking at life as this was your last day, what are the things that you're going to think about? And for me, it was all of the joyful things that I found in this place, and like the smiles that I saw, the altars being full, not based off of numbers, but just literally out of seeing people surrender their life. Yes. And it wasn't about the hard conversations that were had behind closed doors or with making hard decisions for lead team and all of that. It was all the good. So
yes. And would she had known what, like the Taylor, the 1 year younger Taylor, would she have been able to say it's not in the next, but it's in the now?
She would not have been able to.
Okay.
For sure.
So, and we're better because y'all are here. TRC is better because y'all are here. And we're thankful for your family. We thank you for the faith walk. It seems like everyone here is on a faith walk for sure. And thank you for what you're doing for college students. Thank you for what you guys are doing and pouring into the youth, my kids particularly too. That's beneficial. But thank you for saying yes to an unknown. Yeah. Because Jesus is being seen clearer in a lot of people's lives because of it. So thank you for today. Yeah. Guys, thank you for tuning in again for the podcast, Inverted Podcast. We hope you have a great weekend. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.